Hello there, a very good evening and welcome to another edition of the People's Platform. We've been discussing many heavy topics during the past few weeks, and today we are going to discuss about mental health, especially at a time in Sri Lanka when we can see incidents such as girls being killed. I think there were many incidents that were reported during the past few weeks where children were abducted, abused, tortured, and then murdered. All of these issues really boil down to how our society functions, and much of how a society functions is dictated by the mental health or the level of mental health that the people in that society have. But, however, unfortunately, in Sri Lanka, mental health still, in certain sections of society, tends to be a very taboo subject. So we're here joined today by Chamalia Hangama. She is a counseling psychologist to shed a little bit of light on what's really happening here in Sri Lanka during these very turbulent times. Thank you very much, Chamali, for joining us on our show this evening.
Thank you, Sharon, for having me.
So, Shamali, tell me first, now we've seen these incidents of, sad stories that have been coming out during the past few days. There was this one incident, I think during, just before the show we were discussing the incident in Gampala, where this girl who left for work, she was randomly, a person saw her on the road, decided that he needs to go and sexually abuse her. She resisted, he did abuse her and then killed her and buried her. Then there was this incident where a girl had gone into this hotel or restaurant, inn of sorts, and then whatever happened inside there happened, and later they discovered her dead body along the railway track.
Yes.
So when speaking about these incidents and really the mental state of these people, what does it really boil down to?
I would say, Sharon, in both of those incidents, one with the girl where she was killed, or I don't know whether she suicided, it's still a
mystery, yes.
So, and the other Gampala incident, both, what has happened was they were, now, the Gampala incident, it was a man or a boy who was looking for pleasure, and then in the other case also, it was about pleasure. People were going after pleasure, but then once, and even in this girl's incident, it was said that she has received a phone call, and then she was anxious about it. That was the last things they were talking about. So, so people I see today that they, even when you take the Gampala incident, so like they rush into pleasure. What I say is that people lack this holistic feeling about their lives. When you do certain things, you need to know what the consequences would be. So you need to plan your life right now. When you say plan your life, it's like not like the plan, we need to plan the whole life, but then each day we have to give some thought before we do something, right? So that readiness, people are all, as I say, are all into these instant things. So that's the, that is because the society today is now, it's two different societies now in the Gampal incident and the Kalutara, I think, incident, take.
From two classes of society.
Two classes of societies to a fragment, yeah. And then what happens is that all these people are frustrated in some way. So why people get frustrated? It doesn't mean that the high class people, they don't get frustrated, or only the economic class and this poverty frustrates people. Not like that. So this frustration comes in different perspectives of life, aspects of life. So what I see here is now, because I'm a counseling psychologist, and when people come and present their cases, what they present to us is not what they would come and talk to the world or talk with their friends. So they'd go into the real details. And then what I see is that those people are too, what do you call, occupied with all these things that they don't have in their lives, Shalan. Now, people don't value things that they got. So, for instance, now when people come and present their problems, what I first do is ask to appreciate what they have. First of all, Shalan, so simple. If you can still see, you have your eyesight, if you can hear, if you can talk, if you can walk, my gosh, what a lot to appreciate. Start from there. Say, people think that I don't have this, I don't have that. Right? And I lack all these things in my life. So people see all the negative stuff where they don't simply appreciate what they have got in their lives. And also these experimental things now, right? And the new trends, your friends and youth sometimes think that, okay, we need to keep up with the current trends. So we can't blame the young children, Shalan. So it's the exposure to the media. So when I say exposure, where you are exposed. So nowadays, people, especially the young generation, Shalan, are exposed to all this kind of trending things that you say, this TikTok creations and all those different, things that goes with technology. I'm not very good with those. But then they get exposed only to that side. But you need to also be exposed to seeing the depth of life. So I don't know how many children read now about life. Now when we were young, I'm still young.
Nobody's disputing that, Shamali.
We were very young, I'd say. So we used to read. We used to read about life, like stories about these beautiful novels about these different characters. So, and also we used to watch movies. Even now you have these movies, but I don't know whether these children or anybody in that case, they grasp the real depth or the meaning or the message of these stories. Now, for instance, I'd say Aquaman, right? People would say it's like very high VFX and all that. They'd see that.
They see the technical aspect of it.
Technical aspect and the colorful things and all that, right? But if you take Aquaman, what's the message in it? There is a very deep message that the movie is trying to give to the society, common society. Stop polluting the ocean. Right? So that's the message. But I don't know, when I ask people whether, okay, who have watched it, what's the meaning, they would think, okay, this happened, that they will say. But then those dialogues, if you really concentrate. So those are the things that people need to learn to see the behind of the what is going on, not the facets that implies what is the reality. Shalan, reality has many aspects.
Now, Shamali, you spoke about keeping up with the trends and all that. People generally find it very difficult to just keep up with life, especially given the current situation, not only here in Sri Lanka but also across the world. And that is why the requirement for mental health or actually taking care of your mental health and support systems to help other people take care of their mental health are being widely employed in other countries. I believe even companies in different other countries, they have a designated psychologist that their employees can go and speak to, because the workload that not only Sri Lankans but people across the world are dealing with right now is much, much, much more than people dealt with, say, maybe not too long ago, maybe 20, 30 years ago. It's progressed or increased exponentially over the course of just a few decades. And because of this very reason, people's mental health is deteriorating. Now, you being a consulting psychologist here in Sri Lanka, a country where speaking about mental health was considered extremely taboo until just a few years ago.
Yes.
But now the situation is developing, it's getting better as it goes along, but however, we're not still there yet. Why do you think we're taking so long to accept the fact that we do need certain forms of help? It's like taking medicine. When you have a wound, you take medicine physically. If you have a physical wound, you take medicine for that. If you have a mental wound, you go see a counselor or seek help for that. Why is that so taboo in Sri Lanka?
I think the government has to take most of the responsibility, because you take the school syllabus, health science. What do you teach? You teach the anatomy, that the blood circulation system, respiratory system. That's it. Where do you teach about mind? Right? The theories of mind, how mind works, what's the structure of mind. So, but in 1700s, the world, the Western world, they started talking about, okay, it's not, initially they thought mind and body are two different entities, but then they developed into looking at the mind. How can we see the mind? Then they developed into structuralism, functionalism, to see how behavior, to connect behavior and mind. Then we ended up in behaviorism. Now the world. So, so the world is, and in other countries, when you say health, it's mind and body. The psychology is a part of the syllabus, but psychology is completely alienated from our school syllabus. It's only if you need, I think, if you select the path in advanced level, or then in your
but is that even available? I remember maybe where I schooled, it wasn't available. It's not too widely available across all schools.
No,
that's
only
for sure.
when you come to, if you select a degree in psychology,
exactly,
that's how you would be exposed to psychology. That okay, you will be confronted that you have a mind, right? So that is one. So so a doctor, you talk about your physical health, and you talk about a doctor. People from the beginning, they know about a normal medical doctor, that you need a doctor's help if you are living. As long as you are living, you need that help, right? And then now you don't go to a doctor only if you're sick, right? When you are born, you take for these routine checkups and all that kind of stuff, right? So, but when you're a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a counselor, is not a familiar character. Now in a school, if you go and ask what are your aspirations, what are your ambitions, who do you want to be, I'm a doctor. But still they would not, the children are not taught that there are other, specifications also. So that is one. And then the other thing is, this counselor especially are not, the counseling service in Sri Lanka is not regulated. We are not, we don't have a common body to license us. Now, this is because I've been in the industry the field for like the past 12, 13 years, and I'm also the president of the leading counselors association, because now there is no common association. So wherever these courses are being done, they have their own alumni and goes as associations. That's how it goes. So we are recognized for our practice, Shalan. But now there are these institutes who would offer 6 months courses sometimes and then give them some qualification, because there is no proper licensing system mechanism. Anybody, once you have the certificate, they can go and practice as a counselor. So that also has damaged the credibility of this counseling and this support, psychological support that people should get. So that is also one reason that people they fear, right? They don't know where they are going to. That is also one thing. And on the other hand, so my what I believe is, because they are not taught about psychology and mind, this is completely alienated thing. So it's natural that it is stigmatized and tabooed, Shalan.
And if a kid has a wound and goes and tells their parents or some adult, like, hey, I have a wound, they'll be like, hey, let's go see a doctor. But if a kid comes and tells their parents or an adult, I'm not feeling too well, I don't think my mind is in the right place, they would probably just, give you some small gratification or take you out or ask you to go play or something like that. Nobody recognizes the real value of seeking help when you are not feeling too well, mentally at least. We've discussed quite a lot, but there's still more to discuss. We will continue this discussion after a short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. You're watching The People's Platform.
එළඹෙන ඕනෑම මොහොතක් අලුත් දෙයක් කරන්න සුදුසුයි කියලා හිතන එක තමයි වඩාත්ම ධනාත්මක.
දැන් මූල්‍ය අරමුදලේ ගැන අපි සාකච්ඡා කරලා තියෙනවා. ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එක ගැන, ඉසරස්ම ගැන. ඒගොල්ලෝ කියන්නේ මේකත් අවස්ථාවක්. ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට අලුත් ආරම්භයක් කරන්න.
අපි පසුගාමීව හිතන හැම මොහොතකම අපිට ඊළඟ අඩිය තියා ගැනීම ගැන ප්‍රශ්නයක් එනවා තමයි.
අර පරණ දේවල් පැත්තකට තියලා, මේ පරණ ආකල්ප පැත්තකට තියලා, අපිට වුණ වැරදි වලින් අපි ඉගෙන ගන්නත් ඕන. හැම එකමත් හදා බල ඉන්න බෑ. රටක් හැටියට හිතන්න ඕන. ඒතර අපිට එතනින් පටන් ගන්න අවස්ථාවක් තියෙනවා.
මිලින්ද සමග නියමාර්ථය ඉරිදා රාත්‍රී 10:30ට.
Welcome back. You're watching The People's Platform. We're in discussion regarding mental health here in Sri Lanka and seeking support for mental health issues. Chamali, we were discussing why mental health is such a taboo subject in Sri Lanka, and it kind of boils down to the lack of education as one of the main reasons, the lack of proper discourse surrounding this subject, that is mental health, among children, even among adults. Nobody really likes to talk about it. Because it can be really traced back to children not being given proper education on this subject that is properly taught in many other countries around the world. But Chamali, judging by where Sri Lanka is today, right now, what can really be done to create more awareness? Now, you pointed out to certain issues from among councillors as well. You said there is no regulatory body. Has any efforts been made to maybe bring this to the attention of the authorities, probably the Ministry of Health? What's the progress happening on that front?
Not the Ministry of Health. Actually, it's been done under the Ministry of Social Welfare.
Right.
Different names at different times. So because the counselling department is registered or established under the Ministry of Social Welfare or whatever it is called now. So they have been talking about this, trying to get some regulatory mechanism going on since, as I remember, I first went to a session in 2012.
2012?
Yes, and still.
That's almost 11 years ago.
Exactly. So still it's not been done. So last year also, when this about this gender issue, some person, some lady, she's calling herself a psychologist or a counselor, and she started all this, saying that
it's a mental illness.
Yeah. Gender.
Yes, I remember this very well. So and there is no real way to quantify or to say that she is a psychologist or is not a psychologist, because there is no proper definition, there is no proper standard, there is no proper recognition.
Yes. So that time also it was taken up in the parliament, so a few parliamentarians were talking about it, but still it again went down.
But Shamali, what really is the hold up on that front at least? I mean, let's keep aside this whole thing that mental health is a taboo subject in Sri Lanka. We need to reform the education system, teach children more about mental health and all of that. At least setting up a regulatory framework for counsellors. It's a profession.
Yes.
Much like the legal profession, medical profession,
yes.
It's a profession. And there is no requirement to reinvent the wheel. It's not that this is an entirely new subject that no one in the world knows about and we need to innovate and then bring forward this mechanism. No. What usually happens in countries like Sri Lanka and countries in the developing world is we take something from a developed country, a system, and twerk it a little bit here and there and make it suitable for us.
Yeah.
Is that impossible in Sri Lanka, that it takes over 11 years to do something like that?
No, what is necessary is already being done, Shalan. What is needed is a code of conduct. That is what we need.
And the base qualification to be recognized as a
So the qualifications are there. So what we don't have is a common code of conduct. So there are, I said, these different associations, they have their own code of conducts. But then who is going to, when there's a disciplinary issue,
who is the authority?
Who is the authority to inquire about things and, disqualify or revoke their license or whatever. Right? So that is what is not happening. I don't know why it's not still passed or recognized, implemented actually, because everything is done by the Ministry of Social Welfare under the counselling department. It's done. Everything is there. A lot of us contributed. We from the private sector, from the government sector, from each and every.
So you're saying the legislation is done, the regulations are done, the code of conduct is done.
It's there. It's just to make it
turn it into law.
Turn it into
put
law.
It into
yes.
Parliament. Maybe Parliament is too busy with other matters these days.
For the past 11 years.
For the past 11 years. I think that's what the situation kind of implies. But Shamali, that needs to be done for sure, like you said, and well, that needs a lot more consultations, and I mean, not consultations really, just a political will to get it passed, political will. Moving forward from there, speaking about this seeking help for mental issues, do you see an increase among Sri Lankans who are willing to seek help? Because like we discussed, it was such a taboo subject back in the day. Are people more willing to come forward and say, look here, I need help, I'm suffering mentally?
Yes, a lot of people are now willing to, compared to the past decade maybe, because my practice is now, this is the 12th year. So when I started, it was quite low, because my sample would be really small, but when you take the other, all the counsellors in Sri Lanka, so it has to be an increase. It is an increase. Because when you say take the Doc 990 or whatever, the channeling registration, consultation, booking services, you would see a whole lot of counsellors registered. So it is an increase. So that is good. But then again, if you take this, the corporate sector or the school system, this appointing counsellors and whether their recommendations are being, because counsellors also, they can come up with recommendations, common recommendations, right? But are those being given enough priority? That is also a problem. So because this counsellor's role, maybe in the corporate sector, it's up to a certain extent there, they have recognized it, because it comes under HR, and HR is so much of powerful. Therefore in the corporate sector, yes, maybe, but still, even though they appoint a counsellor, now take these large establishments where they have 600,000, 2,000 employees, where they have targets to achieve. So they release them to go and get the available service. So
you're saying it differs from corporate to corporate, and the business that they're in and the line of work that they're in. Is it service oriented or production?
Yes. So for me, if you ask, I would say like counselor is there mostly, most of the time maybe, is just as we have a counselor. We have looked into it. So our HR, you can check it.
Just to tick a box.
Tick a box.
Well, much was discussed on the program here today. Mental health, the subject that cannot be quite discussed in a mere 30-minute program. But thank you very much, Shamali, for coming on our show and well, at least revealing these issues that need to be sorted out, at least maybe a code of conduct and some authority to regulate counsellors so that the general public in Sri Lanka will have more trust, more faith when they consult, and they can, and this practice of seeking help for mental issues.
And the educational reforms.
And the educational reforms, of course. The issues that we discussed and the possible solutions will probably, or most hopefully, be implemented in Sri Lanka in the coming years, not too far away from today. Thank you very much once again, Shamali, for coming on our program and discussing these matters. Thank you very much to all our viewers out there for tuning in again as well. Until we meet again, take care and God bless.